Once upon a time, in a kingdom known for its towering castles and lush green fields, there lived a great king named Alden. He was a wise ruler who had led his people through many peaceful years, but he kept a secret that no one knew. He had an illegitimate child, a son named Kael, born of a brief affair many years ago. One day, the kingdom was shaken with the news of King Alden's death. The entire land mourned the loss of their beloved ruler. But there was a twist to this sorrow. As the king passed away, a strange and violent storm began to stir in the skies. Dark clouds swirled above the kingdom, and lightning cracked the air, sending a chill through the hearts of everyone. The wind howled like a wild beast, and thunder rumbled, as though the very earth was grieving. No one could understand why this storm had come. It was unlike any storm the kingdom had ever seen. The weather was so fierce that crops were destroyed and houses were torn from their foundations. The people were frightened, and they turned to the kingdom's most powerful mages for answers. But none of them could stop the storm. In the midst of all this chaos, an old servant named Rihanna remembered something important. She knew of Kael, the king's son, hidden away and kept secret all these years. Kael was the only one who could possibly have the power to end the storm. You see, Kael was no ordinary child. He had inherited magical abilities from his father, though the king had never shared this with anyone. Rihanna quickly found Kael, now a young man, living quietly in the outskirts of the kingdom. She told him about his father's death and the storm that was ravaging the land. At first, Kael didn't believe her. How could he, a simple man, have any power to control such a thing? But Rihanna insisted. The king's magic lived within him, and only he could stop the destruction. Reluctantly, Kael agreed to try. He traveled to the castle where the storm raged the hardest and stood before the throne room. With the wind howling around him and lightning flashing overhead, Kael took a deep breath and called upon the magic within him. At first, nothing happened. But then, a warm light began to shine from his heart, growing stronger with every breath he took. The storm paused, as if it were listening. With a fierce shout, Kael raised his arms and channeled the power of his father's blood. The clouds above parted, and the storm began to fade, the winds settling and the thunder quieting. Slowly, the skies cleared, and the sun began to shine again. The kingdom was saved, and Kael, though still an outsider to the royal family, became a hero to the people. He was no longer just the illegitimate child of a king. He was a powerful sorcerer who had saved them all. From that day forward, Kael ruled alongside the rightful heir to the throne, for it was known that magic could only be truly mastered by those who had a pure heart. And Kael had shown that even in the darkest times, the light of his love for his people could banish the storm. And so, the kingdom lived in peace once again, knowing that the power to protect them could come from the most unexpected places.